Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Dangerous Zygos here with DJ Universe, Calvin Blingwell, and Dandy Market. And guys, I want to start with a rumor that represents a massive shift in the music business. Drake reportedly self-financed his entire Iceman rollout. No label backing, no advance money, just direct wire transfers from his own accounts to fund the whole visual campaign.
Self-financing Iceman is wild because a rollout at that level easily clears seven figures. As an artist out here in Calabasas, I see guys fronting like they're independent, but they're secretly taking $5 million checks from Gamma or Virgin to cover their marketing. Drake doing it with his own actual cash flow, that is a completely different level of leverage.
It's the ultimate power move, but look at the flip side of how messy this gets when you don't manage the back end. Look at Kanye West. Yeezy reportedly got hit with a $150,000 lawsuit just for unpaid web design fees. A brand valued in the billions, getting dragged in public over a $150,000 vendor bill. You gotta stay lit, but you gotta pay the people who build your digital storefront, man.
That $150,000 bill is exactly what happens when you have creative genius but zero infrastructure. As a manager, I see this daily. Artists confuse paper wealth with actual liquidity. They see a $500,000 advance from a major label and think they're rich, not realizing that money is just a high interest loan they have to pay back before they ever see a dime of royalties.
Exactly. It's a recoupable loan. If you take that $500,000 advance, the label owns your master recordings until that entire $500,000 is paid back from your tiny share of the streaming revenue, which might only be 15 or 20%. You're basically renting your own talent while the label acts as the bank and the landlord.
And that's why the old heads had to build their own systems. Think about Master P back in the 90s with No Limit. He secured that 80/20 distribution deal with Priority Records because he came to the table with his own product and his own cash. He wasn't begging for an advance, he was buying the press.
That 80-20 split Master P had is the holy grail. Most young artists today are signing 80-20 deals in reverse, where the label keeps 80%. Rock Nation and Drake are just modern, highly polished versions of that same Master P blueprint. They realize that owning the IP is the only way to survive the transition from being a hot artist to being a legacy brand.
But look, the ownership blueprint only works if you actually set up your pipes correctly. The biggest tragedy in this game is the producer or writer who has a song with 50 million streams but is living month to month because they never registered their music. You have master royalties, which go to whoever owns the recording, and publishing royalties, which go to the writers. If you don't know the difference, you're leaving half your money on the table.
That split between master and publishing is where the industry hides the cash. If you wrote the melody but didn't register with a performing rights organization like ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC, those digital performance royalties just sit in a black box. After a few years, if that money isn't claimed, it gets distributed back to the top earning publishers. You're literally donating your royalties to major corporations.
ASCAP and BMI are literally holding millions in unclaimed writer shares right now. I remember my business classes at LSU, they hammered this home. A business is just a collection of systems. If you're an artist, you need a simple, strict operating model. I use a basic allocation rule for every check that comes in. 30% straight to taxes, 20% back into marketing and production, 10% for legal and admin, and 40% for personal operating expenses.
That 30/20/10/40 split is beautiful because it stops you from buying a chain before you've paid Uncle Sam. I've seen guys get a $50,000 festival booking check, spend 40,000 of it in one weekend, and then get hit with a $15,000 tax bill a year later. Now they're doing club walkthroughs for peanuts just to stay out of federal prison.
And you need a separate business bank account for that allocation. Never commingle your personal cash with your LLC's funds. On top of that, you need a 3-month operational buffer before you launch any new project. If your monthly overhead is $10,000, you don't start spending on a new rollout until you have 30,000 sitting untouched in a reserve account.
That 3 month buffer is crucial because touring money is incredibly deceptive. Let's talk about the math of a $25,000 show. Young artists see that $25,000 guarantee on the contract and think they just cleared a light 25 grand, but once you break down the actual execution, that number evaporates.
Man, that $25,000 gig is really a $10,000 net profit if you're lucky. First, your booking agent takes 10%, which is $2,500. Your manager takes 15%, which is $3,750. Then you have to fly out a crew of 4, book 3 hotel rooms, pay for ground transportation, and rent backline gear. By the time you land back home, you've spent $12,000 just to put on a 45-minute show.
$12,000 in expenses just to make 10 grand back. That's the reality of the road. If you don't have your merchandising set up at the venue to offset those travel costs, you're basically working a high-risk manual labor job for minimum wage.
It comes down to this. Gross income is a vanity metric. Net profit is sanity. Whether you're Drake funding a multi-million-dollar rollout or an indie artist booking a regional tour, the laws of cash flow don't care about your follower count. If your system isn't tight, the music business will gladly keep the change. See you guys next week.